Welcome to BIM 410, exporting from BIM to AEC CAD standards. This video provides an overview and demonstration of the export process from Autodesk's Revit BIM application to CAD DWG format files, compliant with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers or USACE AEC CAD standards for MHS projects. We will review how MHS project teams can produce AEC standard CAD files from their project BIM models in Autodesk Revit, highlighting using the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers 2012 Architectural BIM template for Revit, the features provided within the template that guide conformance to the USACE AEC CAD standards for project deliverables, a comparison of the USACE AEC CAD standard versus the U.S. National CAD standard, and step-by-step instructions on how to complete the export process from a Revit model to produce CAD DWG format files. While this video focuses specifically on the CAD export process from Revit architecture, the same general workflow are used with the Revit Structural and Revit MEP software applications. Building Information Modeling, or BIM, with the Autodesk Revit platform offers the capability to configure, save, and deploy a standard working environment via template files. These pre-configured Revit files can significantly minimize the time and effort required to configure and coordinate Revit projects. They can contain standard elements and details, naming conventions, schedules, views, sheet layouts, output settings, and many more standards to organize project development. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers CAD BIM Center has developed architectural, structural, electrical, and mechanical Revit templates to ensure graphic representations, data syntax, taxonomy, and software environment are consistent and that required deliverables from projects align with industry and USACE CAD standards. Standardizing on the USACE Revit template also increases consistency across teams, districts, and divisions, provides a common starting point, and improves the overall USACE product and brand. For MHS design and construction projects, CAD 2D DWG files are a required deliverable necessary for legal and documentation purposes. With the increased use of 3D modeling programs, such as Autodesk Revit, there is a need for a standard method of exporting these data-rich model files into the AEC standard DWG file format, as required by contract. We will now provide an overview of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Revit BIM template. MHS requires project delivery files to be compliant with USACE AEC CAD standards. The USACE AEC CAD Standard version 4 is compliant with the U.S. National CAD Standard version 4. The USACE standard contains supplemental materials and DoD-specific requirements not addressed in the U.S. National CAD Standard. The USACE Revit BIM template follows the National CAD Standard 5.0, the Army Corps' AEC 4.0 CAD Standard, and its CAD supplement. The USACE AEC 5.0 CAD Standard is available in draft form and currently under development. The USACE CAD BIM Center has released the Architectural, Structural, Electrical, and Mechanical Revit 2012 Templates version 1.1. Registration is required to download the template files located on the CAD BIM Technology Center's website. Its URL is shown on this slide. From this web page, users can download the template file to their workstation and proceed to unzip and copy the files to their Revit template directory. To create a new architecture project using the USACE template, open the Revit Architecture 2012 application and proceed to click on the Revit Application button, the R in the upper left, select New, and then Project. In the New Project dialog under Template File, click Browse. Navigate to the location of the USACE template file and click Open. Under Create New, select Project and click OK. Revit will proceed to create a new project file using the settings defined by the template. The default project name appears in the title bar of the window. To assign a different file name, click the Revit Application button and select Save As. The USACE 2012 Revit templates contain standard families, fonts, annotations, and view settings. These will assist project teams in standardizing model and sheet views and also provide a level of consistency across all projects in the organization. The USACE Revit templates will continue to be upgraded as new versions of Revit and new USACE CAD standards are released. For more detailed information on the template, reference the guide documentation, a PDF file that is included within the USACE Revit template download. When opening the newly created project, the browser displays an introductory sheet view which contains a README listing of information. In the left block, there is information on the template, and on the right is project information. Data entered here will be stored as parameters as Revit project information attributes. There is also an area labeled Message Center, where user instructions can be added by project users. On the left side of the Revit user interface is the Project Browser window. Within it, you can browse some of the custom views provided by the template. The Project Browser is organized by discipline, view purpose, family and type, and sorted by associated level. View purpose is a new project parameter added to the view properties by the template. The uppercase view designation is appended to the end of the view name. 4 predefined view purposes have been created in the template. These are Working View, where the project model is developed; Documentation View, a view displaying a sheet layout compliant with the project delivery requirements; Presentation View, accommodating either required or accessory presentation views; and Coordination View, which can be used to coordinate and collaborate with separate disciplines such as structural, MEP or civil engineering, interior design, and landscaping. The view naming strategy follows a standard detailed in the template. View names follow the following structure: floor, level, view type, region, function, view purpose. If the project is not divided by region, all is to be used. For example, a floor plan in this sample project following this format has been named 01 Floor Plan, East, Dimensions, DOC. Typical view templates have been included to provide a model visibility environment that will be consistent for all standard types of views. Among them, floor plans, reflected ceiling plans, elevations, sections, key plans, and coordination plans. The main body of the standard sheet set has been predefined to assist with the documentation of the model. The sheet set, titles, and numbering are included as a guide and will require project-specific modification. Sheet naming follows National CAD Standards 5.0 guidelines and include the following components: the discipline designator, consisting of 2 alphabetical characters; the sheet type designator, consisting of 1 numerical character; and the sheet sequence number, consisting of 2 numerical characters. Also included in the template is G-001, a cover sheet which contains data fields affiliated to the project information category. Sheet attributes can be designated to control the order of sheets exported and to create custom sets. Project and sheet parameters can be set up by the project user that will include the AEC sheet name on the left-hand side of the printed drawing sheet. These will be placed outside of the sheet border. Standard ANSI D USACE border sheets are included in the template as an annotation family. A set of 15 customizable legends are included in the template. Each will require a varying amount of customization. The abbreviations and project information legend contains standard annotation symbols, materials, and abbreviations derived from National CAD Standard version 5.0. This legend also includes a building summary framework for code, fire protection, and energy information. It will require customization and contains a general notes section that is to be filled out by the project team. A key plan legend is also provided. It contains a sample building outline view and 4 predefined quadrants that can be linked to multiple sheets. The template provides standard schedule views for doors, windows, walls, and finishes. They have been given names beginning with a USACE prefix. Schedules marked with a Z are also included in the template for reference or documentation purposes. Note a couple of these. The Z-QAQC egress route distances schedule records egress distances of labeled paths. The Z-QAQC programmed area versus actual schedule allows the user to compare the programmed area with the actual modeled area and calculates the differences. New family types are provided in the template, including USACE symbols, tags, and border sheets. Also included are the USACE standard fonts and 2 types of dimensions, slashes and arrows. A text file that defines shared parameters is included in the template. It contains project, sheet, egress, area, doors, rooms, walls, and window parameters. These shared parameters are affiliated with the Revit project information category and are attached to the cover as well as other sheets. The template also provides drawing symbols, wall types, view filters, schedules, and workflow procedures for creating the life safety plans. These support egress route creation, distance calculation and scheduling, fire rating symbols types, patterns, and hazardous room color classification. See the guide documentation for detailed instructions on this topic. The USACE Revit BIM template is under development and will be updated to include additional content. The topics listed here will be addressed in a future release. Once registered on the site, users will be notified and will be able to download new versions of the template. Let's now review the Revit to DWG export process. During the course of a project and at final completion, AutoCAD DWG files are required to be submitted to MHS. The Revit to DWG export process can be used to create DWG files from the Revit BIM model. Before exporting the Revit project model to AutoCAD DWG format files, it is necessary to validate a few settings. Confirm that the appropriate view templates are assigned to the sheet views. When the Revit template is used to create the documentation sheets, view scales and visibility settings are predefined in View Templates settings. Where view templates are affiliated to specific unique sheets, it may be necessary to adjust the view scale to control the precision to performance ratio depending on the purpose of the view. For instance, if the Revit model contains two lines that are 1/4 inch apart and the view scale is 100, the lines will be considered to be within the allowed tolerance. Therefore, the exported DWG will contain just a single line, thus exported for performance. However, if the view scale is 20, the exported DWG will contain separate lines, thus exported for precision. Reduce the amount of model geometry to be exported. In Revit, a view of the building model contains many objects and attached data. When exporting a file for use in another software application, Revit exports only the objects that are visible in a view. Eliminating non-essential items in the exported file improves the performance and reduces the file size in the importing application. The information displayed is controlled in the Revit Visibility Graphic Override menu. Modify the existing or implement custom layer mapping to ensure that all the project information in Revit categories and subcategories will be exported to the appropriate CAD layers. This is controlled from Revit's Modify DWG/DXF Export Setup menu. Version 1.1 of the USACE Revit 2012 template does not include a custom USACE layer mapping configuration file or DWG export setup selection. However, this may be available in a future release. Revit, by default, automatically maps categories and subcategories to AEC CADD Standard layer names. The application does not provide mapping to NCS CAD Standard 5.0 or, by association, USACE CADD Standards. The USACE CAD standards include additional layers not in the AIA guidance. For example, interior walls in Revit are mapped to the I-wall layer, but by USACE CAD standards, they should be mapped to A-wall full INTR. Some modification of the layer mapping settings will be required for fully compliant layering. Settings that control layer mapping from Revit 2012 models to exported DWG files is stored as part of the export setup rather than as a separate text file as was done in previous versions of Revit. For USACE CAD standard compliant projects, the pre-configured layer level names should be edited in the Modify DWG/DXF Export Setup dialog box and saved as a new USACE export setup. As part of the export process, the project team will modify the Revit layer mapping settings so that the exported DWG files will contain the appropriate CAD layers. To do so, click the Revit application drop-down menu, select Export, Options, and Export Setups DWG/DXF. This will open the Modify DWG/DXF Export Setup dialog. There are 8 tabs or categories within this dialog that provide various options for customizing the export. By using the USACE Revit BIM template and assigning the view templates for the sheets, lines, patterns, text, and fonts will be correctly preset. The Layers tab is the only category on this dialog box where you will need to adjust settings. Keep the default selection under the Export Layer Options line, which will be Export Category Properties by Layer and Overrides by Entity. And at the Load Layers from Standards line, select American Institute of Architects Standard from the drop-down list. Future USACE templates may include a layer configuration text file. It will be assigned here. Under the Load Layers from Standards input line, the user will select Load Settings from File from the drop-down list. Navigate to the usace.txt file in the file system and click Open. If this text file is not available, In the Modify DWG/DXF Export Setup dialog, users can edit mapping values in the many fields highlighted here in yellow, including such settings as Layer, Color ID, and Under Projection and Cut. The left panel of the Modify DWG/DXF Export Setup dialog lists all existing export setups. Settings for the currently selected setup are displayed. After editing the Layer Configuration dialog box, click the New Export Setup icon at lower left corner of the dialog box and rename Setup 1 to USACE or a name of your choosing. Click OK to save the export setup and exit the dialog box. Now, we will review the workflow to export Revit model views to DWG files. Click on Revit Application drop-down menu, and from it select Export, CAD Formats, and then DWG Files. The DWG Export dialog will pop up. On it, select the newly created USACE export setup under the Select Export Setup drop-down on the upper left-hand corner. Also specify which views and sheets or sheet sets to export to the DWG file. This dialog provides options to save, duplicate, rename, and delete for each item specified for export. To export, click Next. In the Export CAD Formats Save to Target Folder dialog, navigate to the target folder for the exported files. At the input line, Files of Type, select the version of AutoCAD specified in the project contract for DWG files from the drop-down list. For the input line naming, there are two options in the drop-down list. These will automatically generate the file name for the exported DWG files. If Automatic Long Specify Prefix is selected, a project-specific number can be added to the beginning of the file name. Unfortunately, this selection also adds the drawing name to the file number and a descriptor sheet. The alternate option, Automatic Short, will export only the sheet number. Either option requires manual or a batch file renaming tool to achieve the USACE standard compliant file name. At the bottom of the dialog, there is a check option for Export Views on Sheets and Links as External References. For Revit or DWG links in the project to be exported to a single file rather than to several files that reference each other, ensure that this input box is not checked. Finally, click the OK button. Revit will proceed to export the selected views and sheets to DWG files, placing them in the previously designated target folder. We hope this video helps explain the value and function of using the USACE 2012 Revit template to support compliance with USACE AEC CADD Standard. For additional information, please visit the MHS World Class Facilities website at the link shown on this slide.